G'day guys, what's cracking? It's Ralph here. And this video is for those of you who are unsure whether to go for the Nikon Z50, the Z30, or the ZFC. So we're going to have a look at what they have in common and have a look at their differences, including the situations that they're best situated for, because I think each lends itself to a particular use and a particular situation. So the Z50 is the first camera of the three. It was announced in October 2019. 20 months later, the ZFC was announced in June 21, and just over a year after that, in July 2022, the Z30 was released. So let's have a look at what they all have in common. They all have the same way of shooting photos. It's brilliant. You simply push down the button and boom, you get a photo. But we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. My apologies. Firstly, they are all mirrorless cameras and all DX cameras, which means they have a crop sensor and are known as APS-C cameras. Each has the ability to shoot a video at 4K, 30 frames a second, or 1080p, which is high def, at 120 frames per second, which gives you some really nice slow motion. Each have the same XSpeed 6 image processor, and each work with a UHS-1 compliant SDHC or SDXC memory card. Each has the same way of navigating through the menus, and the menus are very similar. Each camera can take 11 frames per second at 12-bit RAW. Each has the same ISO range from 1000 up to 51,200 and performs pretty much identical in low light scenarios. Each has a Z-mount, meaning you can put the 4 DX Z-mount lenses available on each of these cameras. The 18 to 140mm, the 16 to 50mm, the 50 to 250mm, and the 16 to 50mm, all with variable apertures. They are very similar in lots of regards, and it shouldn't be a surprise, right? They're all part of the Z range of DX cameras of mirrorless from Nikon. So let's talk about the differences. And we'll start with the small ones and we'll make our way up to the larger differences. For example, the Z50 is the lightest of the lot at 395 grams. A massive 10 grams heavier is the Z30 at 405 grams. And the heaviest of the bunch is the whopping 445 grams is the ZFC. Basically, they're all the same weight and they are light. They each have practically the same megapixel sensor. The Z50 and the ZFC have a 20.9 megapixel sensor, and the Z30 has a 20.2 megapixel sensor. Both the Z50 and the ZFC can record video for 29 minutes and 59 seconds, while the Z30 takes a giant leap forward and can record 1080p up to 125 minutes if powered by an external power source, because the battery will go flat. Now let's have a look at the actual differences in the bodies, and if this has been helpful so far, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video. Every little action you can take really helps. So let me run you through the Z50. This is a aftermarket eye socket because the last one broke off. That happens when you push it in and out of your bag. And this is a bit big, but I couldn't find a shorter one for what seemed like a relevant price tag. Has your classic mirrorless grip here. It's very small, easy to handheld. It has a 1/4 thread you can put on the bottom and attach anything you like to it. Has battery and card in here, as they all do. And all the cool little thing with these little cameras is it has the pop-out screen. So you pop it out and that's when you shoot. If you turn it on and that's not popped out, it says we can't take any photos because we're not popped out. And its screen does this and this. So you can actually view yourself here, but if this is mounted on anything, you get the picture, you can't actually see. So it's ideal if you're hand holding it, or you want to compose yourself in a selfie in a shot and then pop it on a table or something. It kind of works in that space, but not amazing, but better than nothing. On the side, it has the opportunity to put an external mic in, which is really key when you're vlogging or doing anything with video. It also has HDMI and USB plugs on the side. It's an easy camera to use. It feels really nice in the hands. It is a nice weight. It's not like you're holding the air. And you have your mode dial on top. There's no top LED, but there isn't with any of the DX range cameras, and has a touch screen on the back, but the touch screen on this is slightly different. It has certain limitations on the side, which you just need to be aware of when it comes to zooming in and zooming out and selecting what sort of mode of review you want to have. Anyway, I just say that so you're aware. And as you'll note, the back buttons on this camera are slightly different situated than they are on the other two. Can even put a flash on top and has a pop-up flash If you don't want to put an external flash on it, which you can, which can be really handy if you're running and gunning with this little camera. ZFC, this is the most different aesthetically of the lot. You select the mode that you want to shoot on the far left. You can then select your ISO with this first knob. You simply push it down and turn it to where you want it. Your shutter speed is on this one, or you can choose a third step which activates the back dial, and the back dial enables you to move a third of a step through each of your shutter speeds. Down the bottom, this little one just here is your choice between video and camera. Here's your on and off button and your shutter button on top with your video record, and then exposure compensation is just here. If we flip it over, the screen is fully articulating, which is very handy. Means you can look at it at any angle you prefer, and you can even close it off if you tuck your camera away, so it's fully secured. On the back we have the preview buttons here and the rubbish bin. That's how you change whether you're looking at the EVF or the back screen, and again different construct of buttons just here. If you flip it upside down, has your Q20 mounting and your battery and card in there, which are nice and safe. And SmallRig have made an amazing L bracket that aesthetically suits it perfectly. Also has a Q20 mounting point there. Look how neat that looks, but it allows you to have some grip here, because what happens is when you're changing any sort of lens, because of the stiffness of that, it can pull the camera right out of your hand, and you can change your settings when you don't want to or lose control of the camera. So I find this is an amazing addition and fits so perfectly. Here's a link to wherever that review is for you to go and have a squiz at it. On the side we have the cables that are accessible. We have our mic, which is all the way down here. It's a little bit annoying, and your two other USB and HDMI, and you can mount it just here and just here. And just be warned that these things can flap around in the wind, and they can affect your videoing quality because of the banging that they do. It has no internal flash. Also shows you what aperture is in this tiny little window, which can be helpful if you have better eyes than I do. And finally, you can change this up. So they've just released a black one. This is the silver one. The black one is black and black. It looks pretty cool. This is the silver one, which means you can change what this body looks like. You have to send it away. It takes about a week and they send it back to you. And if you don't have a freebie when you bought the camera, it does cost in order to do that. But you can change this to a variety of other colors that you can see on the screen. Now, if you want to mix it up and have something that's a little bit more personalized, and let's jump onto the Z30 to have a look at that. This is the Z30. You'll first of all note that it's very compact and doesn't have an EVF. There's no way to hone in and have a look, and sometimes when the sun's out bright, it can be hard to see on this screen. You can zoom in using the zoom in and out buttons, but even when you do that, it can be really difficult to make sure you're on focus if the autofocus isn't taking care of that. On the side you have your cables again, which you can just plug in and use to your heart's content. Has this little latch here which you can attach a strap to, as the same with over here, and as you'll notice, there's no movement. It's built for vloggers, right? So there's no movement, so it's much more quiet. So have a look at the screen. Screen pulls all the way out. It's fully articulating, goes all the way around like so, and you can flick it round and close it in on itself, so it's nice and safe. Has all your functions that you'll need on the back. Has a nice hold for your hand there, and underneath has the Q20 mounting, which is really essential if you're going to be using this for vlogging. Same lens as with all the others. You click it to open it and you click it to close it, and you can mount a flash on here if you so choose, or a host of other things if you want a microphone or you want a particular light to be attached to the top of your camera to give you a better vlogging experience. Your mode button is up the top, and you can select through your 3 custom modes, or manual, aperture shooting, your P, and your auto. Bigger record button because it's made for vloggers. You can affect your ISO by holding that down and changing it with the back roll, or holding that down and changing it with your front dial to auto or not auto. That's your exposure compensation. Your on and off, you simply push it down like so. So let me draw some conclusions for you, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them there. The Nikon Z-Mount DX mirrorless range are all small, portable, and have some great features, but there are differences. Looking at the Nikon USA site, the Z50 is the cheapest of the lot at $860 right now, when not on sale that is, followed by the ZFC at $960, and the Z30, which is the newest camera, is much more than those other two at $1349 when not on sale. So if you want a camera to learn photography on, that you can shoot video with it if you need, and it's great entry level into the mirrorless market, the Z50 is for you. I bought this recently for a young friend of mine I know to learn on, and after a few sessions he went to Norway and took some incredible images of the northern lights. It's easy to use and easy to learn. This is the camera to get if you want a really great start into digital mirrorless photography, or have an easy second option to complement your other gear. The ZFC was created based on the Nikon FM2, an F-mount film camera launched in 1982. This is the perfect camera for you if you'd like to hone your mastery of settings, if you want to take your time taking photos, or you're just plain old nostalgic. Its design isn't built for long lenses, but for short ones, as it doesn't have a handle to hold when you're changing the focal length. It just tears it out of your hands and you change the settings. I bought the ZFC before the Z30 came out and used it exclusively for vlogging because of its flip around screen, and found it enormously helpful. I reckon it's the travel camera. The only one to take with you if you want some nice street shots or family snaps, or you want to document an experience. And with the EVF to help you compose your shots and work in really bright sunlight, and the articulating screen for easy vlogging, it's a great option. My struggle is it doesn't have easy accessible auto ISO function, and changing the settings can be a bit cumbersome in certain scenarios. The Z30 is the other side of the coin from the ZFC. It's made for vloggers with a backup for photos. Now don't get me wrong, it takes amazing shots, but with a lack of EVF, it can be a challenge seeing the screen in the bright sunlight. But its stereo microphones, its complementary articulating screen, make it the vlogger's delight, which is why I now exclusively vlog with this camera. True story. I'm sure there are odds and ends I've overlooked, and for those of you aware of what they are, you can add them in the comments below. I'd love for you to enrich our experience together, and I hope this video has been thorough enough for you and you feel more empowered about your decision making when it comes to buying the right camera for you. There'll be links in the description below for you to have a look at the cameras for yourself, and I would love for you to subscribe, to like this video, consider joining the channel, have a look at my backlog, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks everybody. Bye.